What if the world you see every day isn't real, but a dream someone else is directing? What if the thoughts that move through your mind, the fears you feel, and even your deepest desires were never truly yours? And what if, hidden behind everything you call normal, there were unseen forces quietly feeding on your confusion and pain? These are not just fantasy ideas from an old book. They are part of an ancient teaching that was once known as Gnosticism, and it warned humanity about something dark, something powerful, and something most people still cannot see. According to the Gnostics, the world we live in is not the true creation of the divine. It is a carefully built illusion, a kind of spiritual cage meant to keep us from remembering who we really are. The hidden rulers behind this illusion were called Archons, forces that feed on fear, ignorance, and distraction. They work not through violence, but through influence, shaping our thoughts, turning truth into confusion, and keeping us trapped in endless cycles of desire and disappointment. Look around. Doesn't modern life already feel like that? The endless scrolling, the constant comparing, the quiet sadness that never fully leaves? These are not coincidences. They are symptoms of a deeper spiritual problem. In this journey, we'll uncover how these invisible powers built their prison, how they use fear to control, and how you can begin to wake up from their dream. Each chapter will reveal one layer of the illusion and the forgotten light that can set you free. So stay with me until the end of this video to truly understand the message they tried to bury. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden truth together, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, because what comes next may change how you see everything.
Most people live their whole lives believing they're free. They wake up, go to work, follow the rules, and try to be successful. But inside, there's a quiet emptiness that never leaves. It feels like something is missing, something you can't quite name. The Gnostics said this emptiness is not a mistake. It is the quiet echo of your soul, remembering that it was born for something greater. Imagine a bird that grew up in a cage, never knowing the open sky. One day, the cage door opens, yet the bird does not fly away. It stays, thinking the cage is its home. That is how many of us live, believing the invisible walls around us are normal life. The truth is, the world often teaches us to confuse comfort with freedom. As long as we have entertainment, money, or attention from others, we feel safe. But this safety is a trick. It's a golden cage built from fear and habit. We fear being different. We fear losing approval. We fear silence because silence might show us how trapped we really are. The Archons, those ancient forces of illusion, don't need chains or bars. They use thoughts, routines, and emotions to keep us distracted. Every time we choose comfort over truth, the cage grows stronger. The Gnostics called this prison the world system, a structure built to make souls forget their divine origin. It's not made of metal or stone, but of ideas that tell you what to believe, how to act, and what to fear. Yet the freedom begins the moment you start to see it. When you notice how fear controls your choices, how routine dulls your light, and how doubt limits your dreams, something within you stirs. Awareness cracks the wall. You don't need to fight the cage. You only need to wake up and see it. The first step toward freedom is not rebellion, it's remembrance. The moment you realize you are more than your fears, more than your job, more than the noise around you, the invisible walls begin to fade. You start to feel what the soul always knew, that you were never meant to live small. You were meant to fly.
The Gnostics spoke of the Archons as the invisible rulers of this world, forces that move in the shadows, whispering through fear, confusion, and desire. They are not monsters with faces, they are energies that feed on human weakness. Their power grows each time we lose our peace, each time we forget who we truly are. You can think of them like parasites that survive through our emotional energy. When we are angry, anxious, jealous, or lost in comparison, they grow stronger. These energies don't need to appear as demons. They hide behind the noise of everyday life. In today's world, the Archons have found new forms. They live inside the endless scroll of social media, where our attention is bought and sold. They hide in the glow of screens that keep our minds busy and our hearts asleep. Every notification that triggers anxiety, every headline that spreads fear, every image that makes us feel less than others, these are modern tools of control. The Archons use them to drain us, not of blood, but of focus, joy, and clarity. They feed on confusion, because a confused mind is easy to guide. Their whispers are soft but constant. They speak through self-doubt, through the voice that says, "You're not enough," or "You'll never change." They turn us against ourselves, so we no longer need to be imprisoned. We keep ourselves there willingly. When we believe these voices, we forget our strength. But when we learn to recognize them, not as our true thoughts, but as outside influences, they begin to lose their hold. Awareness is the Archon's greatest enemy. The moment you observe their patterns without reacting, they weaken. When you choose calm over fear, gratitude over jealousy, love over anger, the invisible strings start to break. The Gnostics taught that seeing through illusion is the first step to freedom. Every time you choose awareness, you become lighter, clearer, harder to control. You stop being a puppet, and you start being a creator again. The Archons only win when we forget who we are. But when we remember, their world begins to crumble.
The greatest prison ever built is not made of walls. It is made of thoughts. The Archons do not need to chain our bodies. They only need to control what happens inside our minds. They whisper quietly, shaping how we see ourselves and the world. They make us believe that every thought we think is ours. But most of the time, those thoughts are not born from our true self. They are echoes from outside forces that feed on our emotions. When you believe the voice that says, "I can't," or "I'm not good enough," you give them power. They turn your mind into their playground. Many people live trapped in their own thoughts. Take the story of a young woman who always felt unworthy, always chasing perfection, afraid to disappoint others. Her mind kept repeating the same painful ideas. "You're not beautiful enough, not smart enough." One day, she learned to stop running from those thoughts. She sat in silence and simply watched them, like clouds passing in the sky. To her surprise, they started to lose their strength. That was her first taste of freedom, the moment she realized she is not her thoughts. The Archons thrive on low emotions, fear, guilt, shame, and anger. When we hold on to them, our energy drops and they feed. But when we bring awareness, when we see our emotions without judging them, we rise above their reach. This is the art of observation, the quiet power of watching your mind instead of being ruled by it. The Gnostics taught that awareness burns through illusion like light through fog. You don't need to fight your thoughts, you only need to see them clearly. Each time you catch yourself before reacting in anger, each time you choose silence over fear, you weaken the invisible control. Slowly, the prison door begins to open. The mind, once filled with noise, becomes calm. And in that calm, the truth shines. The real you is not the voice of fear. You are the one who watches it. You are the light behind every thought. And that light can never be caged.
Deep within every person, beyond all fear and confusion, lives a hidden light, a divine spark that nothing in this world can destroy. The Gnostics believed this spark came from the true source, the pure and boundless realm beyond the reach of the Archons. No matter how dark life becomes, no matter how lost we feel, that inner flame never goes out. It waits quietly beneath the noise, waiting for us to remember it again. This spark is who we truly are. Not the name we carry, not the roles we play, but the living piece of the divine within us. Sometimes life breaks us open to remind us of that truth. Imagine someone who loses everything, a home, a job, a relationship, and feels completely shattered. At first, the pain feels unbearable, but in the silence that follows, something new appears. A gentle feeling of peace that doesn't come from success or approval. It's the spark rising again, reminding them that their worth was never in the things they lost. This light is what the Archons can never touch. They can blind us from it, but they cannot steal it. When we are connected to that spark, fear loses power. Even small acts of kindness, moments of stillness, or being close to nature help us remember who we are. The song that moves you to tears, the feeling of the wind on your skin, the love that rises when you help someone, all these moments are reminders of the divine spark shining through. The Gnostics said that remembering the light within is the first step to awakening. You do not need to become something new, you only need to uncover what was already there. When you live from this inner light, you begin to shine in ways the world cannot explain. You see beauty where others see chaos, and hope where others see darkness. That light is your true self, the part that no illusion, no fear, and no Archon can ever take away.
The Archons do not only whisper inside the human mind, they also build the outer world to match their illusion. They shape societies, control systems, and guide the flow of attention, making people believe that chaos and division are natural. The Gnostics warned that these forces use the material world as a web of distraction, keeping souls busy chasing power, wealth, and validation, while the deeper truth remains hidden. Look around, the signs are everywhere. Our world runs on constant noise, news that spreads fear, markets built on greed, and endless arguments that divide people into groups. Each of these things keeps humanity looking outward instead of inward. These outer systems are not accidents. They are carefully designed to harvest energy from human emotion. When people are trapped in fear, anger, or jealousy, their energy drops, and the Archons feed on that vibration. It is why history repeats itself. Wars, corruption, greed. It's all part of a cycle that keeps humanity from evolving. When we are afraid, we obey. When we are angry, we fight each other instead of questioning the real source of control. This is how the invisible rulers keep the world in a dream of confusion. But not all hope is lost. The Gnostics also taught that awareness can collapse the illusion. When one person begins to see clearly, the spell weakens a little. When many awaken together, the illusion starts to fall apart. You can see it happening even now.
People turning off the noise, questioning false systems, searching for peace, not power. Every act of awareness sends light through the web of control. The Archons built their kingdom on blindness, but truth is like sunlight. It doesn't need to fight the darkness, it only needs to shine. The moment you stop feeding fear and start feeding your inner light, the grand illusion begins to fade. You realize that the world's chaos is only a mirror, and when your heart becomes still, the reflection changes. This is how the illusion ends, not with war or anger, but with awakening.
The Gnostics believed that the only true escape from the illusion of the Archons was gnosis, not knowledge from books, but direct inner knowing. It is the moment when truth rises inside you like a quiet certainty, when your heart understands something that the mind cannot explain. Gnosis is the light that appears when you stop searching outside yourself and begin to listen within. It does not come through religion, wealth, or approval. It comes through awareness. Every time you pause, breathe, and notice what is happening inside you without judgment, you take back a piece of your power. Our attention is the most sacred thing we have, yet it's the first thing we give away. The Archons win when we let fear and distraction steal our focus, but when we start reclaiming our attention, the illusion begins to fall apart. Imagine someone who spends every day drowning in stress, scrolling through endless screens, feeling empty and anxious. One day, she decides to turn everything off for an hour. She sits in silence and listens to her breath. The world outside is still noisy, but something changes. She begins to feel peace, a small spark of her real self returning. That is gnosis in action, the power of awareness awakening from within. Every time you notice your thoughts without reacting, you are breaking an invisible chain. Each choice made in calmness rather than fear weakens the hold of the Archons. Gnosis is not about escaping the world. It's about seeing through it. When you are awake, the same world looks different. The noise doesn't control you, and the illusions lose their shine. The Gnostics taught that every soul carries this lost key within. It cannot be given by another. It must be found by you. Awareness is the doorway. Silence is the keyhole. The moment you turn your attention inward, you begin to remember. And once you remember, you are no longer trapped. You are free. The Gnostics believed that when even a few souls awaken to their true nature, the entire web of illusion begins to unravel. Every awakened person becomes a light that weakens the darkness of forgetfulness. This awakening is not about fighting the Archons, but about remembering who you are beneath the noise, beneath the layers of fear and false identity. You were never a powerless being. You are a spark of the divine source itself, eternal, pure, and untouched by any illusion. The Archons cannot destroy this spark, but they can make you forget it. The moment you remember, their power fades like shadows in sunlight. Every person who chooses awareness becomes part of a quiet revolution, not with weapons or anger, but with stillness and clarity. Imagine millions of people refusing to feed on fear, no longer chasing distractions, no longer comparing their worth through empty measures. The Archons would have no food, no chaos to feed upon. The invisible prison would lose its walls. Humanity would begin to heal. The Gnostics called this collective awakening the return of the light. It is not a distant prophecy. It begins now, in the present moment, each time one heart turns inward. This awakening also means living with purpose. When you remember who you are, you begin to act differently. You speak with kindness instead of judgment. You create instead of consume, and you love without fear. Your life itself becomes a teaching to others still trapped in illusion. And slowly, the forgotten truth spreads, not through force, but through resonance.
The Gnostics taught that the world will not change through outer rebellion, but through inner remembrance. When you awaken, your energy changes, and that energy ripples through everything around you. You are not here by accident. You are here because the time of forgetting is ending. The light inside you, the same divine spark that has survived every lifetime, is rising again. And when enough of us remember, the invisible prison will collapse, and the truth that was buried for ages will finally shine through all hearts once more. Now you understand what the Gnostics were trying to tell us. The real prison was never made of walls or chains. It was built inside the human mind. The Archons never needed to fight us with force because they learned how to use our own thoughts against us. But once you see this truth, you begin to wake up. Awareness is freedom. Every time you stop, breathe, and look within, you take back a part of your power that was once lost. You were never meant to live trapped in fear or confusion. You were never meant to be controlled by noise, stress, and endless desire. Deep inside you is a small spark that has never been touched by any of it. That spark is your connection to the source, the part of you that knows peace, love, and truth. The Gnostics called this the divine spark, and it has always been waiting for you to remember it. The world may still try to distract you. The systems of control may whisper that you are small, unimportant, and powerless. But now you know the truth. You are none of those things. The moment you begin to see clearly, the illusion begins to break. You are not fighting the darkness. You are turning on the light. So, take a breath. Be still for a moment. Feel the space inside you that is quiet and free. That is who you truly are. The Gnostics said that when enough people remember, the false world begins to fall apart and a new one begins to rise. A world born from awareness, love, and truth. Maybe that time is now. Maybe that's why you're here, to remember, to awaken, and to shine your light so others can find theirs too.